everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Tony, I cannot tell for sure because you are wearing your hat at a very jaunty angle. Yes, there it is. You do have a Rose Bowl hat. Okay, good. We are both wearing Rose Bowl hats today. So I assume we're talking about the Rose Bowl. No? Is that not what we're talking about?
Well, no, it's a long road to get from the Rose Bowl to what we're actually talking about. We are
Two
talking...
things that are red, Tony. Shirts and flowers.
There you go. Perfect. I was wrong, Tom. You brought it. Everybody knows what we're talking about now. Once you brought that together. No, we are talking about red shirts. And this was a comment in our Legend Bay video that we did. And both, we talked about, what to expect from him. And I think we both agreed, expect a red shirt. And this comment from at Brian Karst 3881 made me think, and I thought, let's talk this out because I don't know that he's wrong. So here you go. This is from Brian. After watching our video on Legend Bay, where we talked about how talented he is, but also probably going to redshirt, still learning a new position. So this is from Brian. Did these guys just spend 10 minutes telling us he definitely won't be good this year because, freshmen can't make impacts? Also, there is no such thing as a redshirt anymore. No kid will stick around 5 years with NIL. If you don't play talented freshmen, they will transfer. And I think there's a lot to unpack here. Like the gist of this to me is, one, is it basically, is he right? Is there no reason to redshirt players anymore? And I think he's got a very fair point. Tom, the first thing I will say, though, in terms of his last sentence, if you don't play talented freshmen, they will transfer. How much are you supposed to play them? Because we saw Ohio State play some talented freshmen last year in Fahim Delane and Quincy Porter, and they left.
Right. That's the thing. Do you want guys to potentially transfer because they feel they're not getting their opportunity? Or do you want guys to transfer because they got their opportunity, did something with it, and are then saying, well, now you need to pay me like a starter? And that's, or have other teams maybe coming after them and saying, hey, wiggling their eyebrows suggestively. You could certainly make an argument either way there. I think that you have to kind of, job one is win the games that are in front of you. And this upcoming season, Ohio State's schedule is a lot more challenging than the 2025 one was. So you don't necessarily have a whole month of Rutgers and UCLA and Purdue and Wisconsin and everyone else to sort of throw out whoever you want to throw out and just have them learn on the fly. You don't necessarily have that luxury this year. But I do think the red shirt question is interesting because, and really, we almost have to start this conversation with what is a red shirt? Because 15 years ago, a red shirt was you can't play at all. And then a red shirt was, well, you can play in 4 regular season games, but still take a red shirt. And now we don't even know what a red shirt is this fall just yet because the coaches have sort of proposed that they would like that number to increase to 9 games and for guys to still be able to take a red shirt. And if that's the case, then I think you're going to see a lot of guys take a red shirt. And just the fact that the coaches are looking to change that rule is an indication to me that they feel it is still very much an important thing. And this is, I think, maybe a little bit of a bridge to what is ultimately going to be you have 5 years to play 5 years kind of rule, but this is a little bit of a bridge to get you there.
Yeah, right now, this is the bridge to get you there so that they don't just start grandfathering all of these lawsuit people in. They'd rather just move on from that stuff. And so this would be one way to do it. And the irony is it's like, yes, you can't really think about redshirting, right? But by allowing freshmen to play 9 games, more of them will be redshirting. And so this is not something that you're necessarily planning. This is just the result of the season. And I think that's a positive for basically everybody. Even more of a positive for the players because then they can go be a free agent while still being basically a redshirt freshman or whatever, and not having that cost them a year of NIL or perhaps schooling. So like there's all good sides to this. I do think there's a valid point here where there's no reason to, for some positions, there's no reason to like even think about redshirting anymore. And yet you're still going to see it because a quarterback isn't, a true freshman quarterback. If they're not the starter or the backup, good luck playing 4 games. And we've seen Julian Sand redshirted, Tavian St. Clair redshirted. I think offensive line is always going to be a developmental thing, but there's no reason to go into a season and say, frankly, probably no reason to go into a season saying we're going to redshirt Legend Bay. Now, first you need to know how many games you're going to, how many games a redshirt entails. But like, I agree that you can't expect players to stay around 5 years, which is the whole point of redshirting. But as long as players are still redshirting, then that's also going to benefit you, even if it's not your players. Tom, how many 5th-year guys, 6th-year guys, 7th-year guys has Ohio State brought in to the transfer portal, which I think is going to continue to be the norm. So even if it's not Ohio State guys redshirting, Ohio State is still going to benefit from 5th-year guys through the portal.
And I think it's in the player's best interest as well, because you come in and all these guys are coming in and thinking 3 years, 4 years at the absolute most. There's no scenario where I'm here for 5 years. And I'm sure when Kyle McCord came to Ohio State, he thought 3 years, 4 years at the absolute most. There's no scenario where I'm here for 5 years. And I mean, that was technically true because he transferred out after his 3rd year. But he played, the reason I'm bringing up Kyle McCord as an example is because Kyle McCord played in 5 games as a true freshman. And it wasn't like they needed him to. It was just he played 5 games because, well, I mean, what are the odds he's here for 5 years? He obviously not. And so then he went through his career. He did not take a red shirt that first year, went through his career. His 4th year, he was at Syracuse, made, I think, a decent amount of money in NIL, had a very good season, and probably would have been a very, very highly sought-after player in the transfer portal had he had another year. Had he been eligible for 2025, he's probably one of those guys who's being sought after by Miami or any of those programs that were looking for a hotshot quarterback who could put up big numbers. He would have been one of those guys who those teams were looking at. Instead, he went off to the NFL. He might have been on a practice squad or something this year. I honestly don't remember where he was in the NFL, but I would imagine he probably was not making, multi-million dollars like he possibly could have in college. So, just because your expectation is I'm not going to be here 5 years doesn't mean that that's not how your career can play out. And, giving guys the opportunity to stick around. And then if you want to stick around for 5th year, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Like at that point, it's your decision. The decision is in your hands. It's not out of your hands. And ultimately that benefits the player. And it could, to your point, ultimately end up benefiting a whole lot of other teams that have another player who, to bring in another veteran guy, whether that's in Ohio State or that's a Ball State, whoever it is, you would, I'm sure there are lots of teams that would like to bring in a player, bring in another veteran player, whether it is a 5th year Kyle McCord, 5th year Legend Bay, 5th year, whoever the 3rd string offensive tackle at Arizona State is this year, whoever it is, that just gives everyone, I think, another bite at the apple.
It is crazy to think that Kyle McCord probably lost $3 million on 2 snaps in one random Ohio State game in 2021. And that's unfortunate for him because I don't know that he's going to make that over his career in professional football. And so this would eliminate that for the most part. So on one hand, yes, I agree. You can't worry about the red shirting, which kind of, kills the red shirt, but the red shirt is still going to be very much alive throughout the transfer portal and, college football. You're never going to get rid of it until they get rid of it. It's always going to be there, always playing a part. As you look at the old teams that are in the playoffs, those aren't all homegrown players. Those are all, from everywhere, and they're all pretty old and grizzled and veteran and all of that. Now, in terms of the first point here from Brian, in terms of, us saying that freshmen can't make impacts, we just watched Bo Jackson lead Ohio State in in rushing. You just watched Malachi Toney this year have an impact. I still number 4 for Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith. No, like we've seen, freshmen can make impacts. Now it's going to be much more difficult this year, I think, for a number of freshmen to make an impact because it's a much tougher schedule. So, and you have some more established players than maybe last year at certain spots. So, like, if Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins were on the team last year, Bo Jackson's not rushing for 1,100 yards. This year, I think you've got some established players and a tougher schedule. So I'm not saying freshmen can't make an impact because we've seen it happen time and time again. I'm just saying if they're going to do it, this is going to be a tough schedule to do it on.
Yeah, for sure. This is going to be a tough schedule, and I think I'm almost positive, unless this is one of these situations where I'm taking crazy pills. We did talk about him potentially being an impact player on special teams, so that's certainly a path to the field as well. I just, as a guy who was not a running back in high school, that's a little bit of a tough transition, and you have a bunch of returning guys in front of you, and you have a pretty tough schedule. There's just a lot of stuff that he would have to do to get into the 8 to 10 carries a game as a running back kind of situation. Possible, sure. Guarantee, far from it. Real quickly before we move on, Kyle McCord on the practice squad for the Philadelphia Eagles. Practice squad players in the NFL make $13,000 a week or $234,000 for the season. So probably not, that's probably what high-end Big Ten backup quarterback money or low-end power conference starting quarterback money. I mean, that's you probably would be better off there sticking around in college if that was an option. But it's to your point. Yeah, I think it's just there's a lot that it's not that freshmen can't make an impact. It's that the vast majority of freshmen are likely not going to make a significant impact. But by expanding the number of games that are allowable in a redshirt season, you're giving guys more opportunity to get on the field and maybe show that they can do something and earn a bigger role throughout the season. Because otherwise, you're playing them a couple times early in the season in the non-conference, and then there's probably a lot of sitting around, and maybe you get a few snaps against Maryland, a few snaps against Northwestern kind of thing, but you don't necessarily have the runway to really earn a bigger role on offense or defense throughout the season, just with under the current rules.
And I'll remind people, Bo Jackson did not play against Texas in the season opener. So, like, a tough schedule means fewer freshmen play, and just keep that in mind. So, Brian, I do thank you for the response, the reply, the feedback on the show. Like I said, I try to read the comments. That way, if something triggers us in a good way, then we can go ahead.
Would you like to use a different word there? Feels like
something like, catches my eye.
Inspires us, maybe? How about that?
Yeah, there you go. Inspired. Brian, thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for giving us something to think about and talk about. Thank you for being you, and thank us for being us. In fact, you can thank us for being us by hitting a thumbs up if you're watching. We'd appreciate that. 5-star rating and review. Just to thank you guys for being you guys. That's all you need to write. And, of course, you can continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That will do it from here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.